The first funeral for one of the 10 people killed in a racist attack in Buffalo, New York last weekend is set to take place today. More funerals will be held over the next few days.
And now the FBI says it has completed collecting evidence at the supermarket and plans to prosecute the shooting as a hate crime.
We are determined to hold the person responsible for this horrific attack accountable, and our work to collect evidence is a critical part of that effort. We only have one chance to get it right, and we owe it to the victims of this tragedy and the families and to this community to get this case right. Federally, we are investigating this as both a hate crime and as a case of racially motivated violent extremism. At the same time, Erie County authorities are pursuing state charges. The full weight of the FBI and all federal, state, and local partners is behind this investigation.
Joining us now to discuss the latest is Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown. Mayor Brown, thank you so much for your time this morning. I know it's a very difficult time for your community. You are attending the funeral this weekend. Sadly, it will be the first of several. How is the entire city responding to this tragedy?
The city has been in shock. It's been filled with anger, grief, pain. People, though, are coming together. Buffalo is known as the city of good neighbors nationally and internationally. We've wrapped our arms around the families of the victims of this racially motivated mass shooting, and we're leaning on each other, holding each other up, and trying to stay strong as a community. Buffalo is a strong community. We are grieving, but we will get through this.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, while you are getting through this and grieving, the FBI has said it's done collecting evidence at the supermarket. So what are they telling you about the state of the investigation at this point?
So law enforcement at every level has done a great job. Federal law enforcement, state, Buffalo Police, Erie County Sheriff's evidence collection has been concluded at the Tops supermarket, inside the supermarket, which is good because it will give Tops the opportunity to get back in and do the work that they need to do to reopen the market as quickly as possible after being remodeled. So very happy about that development. I know that law enforcement at every level is pursuing every single angle, looking for every bit of information in this case. I've been very pleased with how law enforcement has worked together in a coordinated and collaborative fashion, and looking for justice, certainly, for the victims and for the families and for the community in this case.
Mr. Mayor, I want to talk about the issue of access to food. Now with this restaurant this grocery store shut down, the east side of Buffalo has been considered a food desert for years. The closure of this supermarket is only making it worse. You were actually partially responsible for getting that Top supermarket back into the neighborhood. What is your office doing to address this issue?
Was very responsible for getting this supermarket into the neighborhood almost 20 years ago when I was the district council member for the area. The corporate community did not want to invest in the inner city of Buffalo. We've had real difficulty getting a market to come in. I must have reached out to a dozen supermarket chains in the city, region, and Northeast. The only one we could get to step forward was Tops. Tops now is providing transportation to other Top supermarkets in their network for customers who don't have access to vehicles to be able to purchase their groceries. There's also a pharmacy inside the supermarket, and Tops has been working with the community and making sure people are able to fill their prescriptions and get the medications that they need, delivering those filled prescriptions to homes in the neighborhood. There have been a number of agencies that do food distribution that have been providing food to residents of the community. The outpouring of support has been absolutely incredible. People in the city, people in the region, and people from across the country making donations to make sure that the needs of the people in the surrounding Tops community are provided for. And just yesterday, my office had a personal care item donation where a number of businesses, number of individuals provided personal care items for residents in the affected area of our community. One of the other major supermarket chains in the city, Wegmans, brought a truckload of personal care items that can be distributed to residents. So we are going to provide for the needs of the residents in this area. Yes, before this Tops coming in, the area was considered a food desert, and we are not going to let this part of the community go back to that distinction again.
Yeah, that's great to hear everyone working together to make sure people get that access that they need. Now, talking a little bit about what happened this weekend. One study finds Buffalo is among the top 10 most segregated cities in the country. It's very clear now that the shooter targeted Tops because it's in a predominantly black neighborhood. I know you've spoken out a lot about the issue of people getting guns and gun control. How also do you plan to address the segregation issue and unify the community?
We have a goal of 40% affordable housing in the city of Buffalo, permanently affordable housing. We're already at about 25%. And we see building a city of opportunity where people who are who require workforce housing, middle income housing, and upper income housing can live in close proximity to each other throughout the city of Buffalo. During my tenure in office, there have been over 3,500 units of affordable housing that has been built in the city of Buffalo. We have a massive new workforce training center on the east side of Buffalo. That is a partnership between the state of New York and the city of Buffalo. Over $150 million of investment in the Northland Corridor and Buffalo's east side, largely an African-American community that is providing training for people in advanced manufacturing and green technology. Already graduates of that program are earning between $35,000 a year and upwards of $75,000 a year. So we have a number of initiatives to provide employment and training opportunities, living wage, family sustaining jobs, and to build housing throughout the city of Buffalo.
Mayor Brown, you were able to speak with President Biden during his visit earlier this week to Buffalo. What type of impact did his visit leave on you and your community?
The president was very compassionate. He spent an extended amount of time with the victims of this racially motivated mass shooting in our city. It was heartwarming to see the president and first lady spend such an extended period of time one-on-one with families. That really lifted the community. The president talked about sensible gun control. We talked about reining in the proliferation of hate through social media, the indoctrination of people in white supremacy and other forms of hate in social media. I talked to the president about the needs of resources in the city of Buffalo, and in particular, this affected area of our city. This mass shooting was an act of terror. It's been called an act of domestic terrorism. There needs to be resources for people to begin to recover. Families have been broken. Members of the community have been traumatized. And just like when there is a disaster and FEMA comes in, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, hurricane, tornado, there is federal funding that comes in to address the disaster. This has been a disaster for this neighborhood in the city of Buffalo. It's been a disaster for the people of Buffalo, and we need significant federal resources to address the specific needs and concerns of the families, the victims, the witnesses, the neighborhood, to recover from this terrible domestic terrorism attack on our community.
Well put. And if there's one thing that's really stood out from talking to survivors of this shooting in Buffalo, it's just the resilience of that community, and how you all are coming together is very inspiring. Byron Brown, Mayor of Buffalo, New York, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Deacon Hayward Patterson will be laid to rest today. Services will get underway at 11 o'clock this morning. He's remembered as a beloved son, brother, and above all, a loving father.